Welcome back to the show, AM Ocala Live, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM. The Source, broadcasting to you live. Can you guess where? That's right, the Paddock Mall, which opens at 11 here. We're streaming live, YouTube Live, WOCA, The Source Radio, as we're making our way here. Finishing up this Friday show, beautiful out there now, 78 degrees, so it's warming up there quite a bit. Seeing a high of 90 today, and it's going to get a little bit more humid as we see a 20 to 30% chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms with a heat index pretty high again, about 100, but that's okay. Coming up on 20 minutes now before the top of the 11 o'clock hour, this is time for Ocala Magazine, and as I know it's busy over there right now as everything you guys got going on for the next month's issue and everything else, but in the studio, Carlton Reese. Welcome, partner. Glad to have you in studio.
Thanks for having me. As
we were just talking off air, there quite a bit about some sports. We're going to get into some of that a little bit, as well as having you here to represent Ocala Magazine and everything that you do for the magazine and stuff. But we thought we'd turn it to a little sports action as well.
Yeah, especially when we've working on deadline here this time of the year.
Yeah.
It's hectic. It's nice to talk about something besides shop, so
That's
to speak.
right.
So a little bit of sports. That's right in my wheelhouse.
Well, now I know your background with golf, and you told me off air that you didn't get a chance to watch much of the U.S. Open.
Didn't watch much of it at all. 20 years ago, even less than that, I would have seen every shot, every preview, every post-game, post-match interview. And I don't know, it's something just not as compelling anymore. I don't know if it's the lack of galleries. Maybe I'm just busy doing other things.
Yeah.
Almost sports in general just seems kind of dull.
There's something off. There's something so different that things feel off kilter, if you will. Yeah.
The competition is still good.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you watch it, they're still competing.
Absolutely.
I'll watch a Rays game, and if it weren't for knowing that there weren't people in the stands, it looks the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the players are playing like they would.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable to watch the announcers. But
and even that, though, and I'm going to preface, the Tampa Bay Rays are playing phenomenal baseball. Yeah. And how disappointing it is that now that the Rays are playing great baseball that we can't go watch a game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They win a division. And they're going to the playoffs. They could win, and no one's going to see it.
No one's going to see it.
It's too bad.
If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around, does it make a sound?
When they score 6 runs, you still get your half price at Papa John's.
Do you? Yeah.
I take advantage of that.
Absolutely. If they get those strikeouts, do you still get the discount with Cane's Furniture or whatever it is?
Take your ticket to Cane's.
Oh my goodness. Going back just a little bit of the golf and the in the U.S. Open. I know you said you didn't catch much of it, but I did want to talk a little bit about the course, Winged Foot. I paid a little bit more attention this year to the course. I even watched a kind of a cool video that a gentleman who does some social media networking, YouTube stuff, he does this thing where he gets the opportunity. I don't know how he does it. You and I would kill for this opportunity, but he gets to go out before the tournament starts, and part of his shtick, he's a decent golfer with a high handicap that tries to break 90, playing the course before the pros get to.
Playing it from where the pros are going to play it under the conditions.
Yeah, under the conditions.
You better be a good pro.
Yeah, he was close. He shot 43 on the front, and then the video was him on the back 9. And he had an opportunity. He was on 18, and all he had to do was par, but oh my goodness.
And that's at Winged Foot. He did this right before the Open.
Yeah, matter of fact, when he was on the fairway, because they wanted to keep everything pristine, when he was in the fairway, they actually laid out a fake carpet mat for him to hit off of because they didn't want him taking a divot. But somehow he got to do it. But the course looked phenomenal, but we know how difficult it was. I know you didn't get to catch much of it, but you saw the scores. DeChambeau was the only one under par. Everybody else was even or worse.
Well, and I think we were told beforehand that they were actually going to set the course up with a little bit easier conditions. So that was a little surprising. It just goes to show you how tough they set it up for a U.S. Open. It's supposed to test driving distance, driving accuracy. Every part of your game is supposed to be tested to its maximum, which means everything's going to be as hard as it can play. Yeah. And for anyone to go out there and shoot even par under those conditions,
it was really good.
You have to be elite of the elite. To take someone who's a 5 handicap, who's a good player, a 5 handicap's a good player, would be very stressed to break 90 in those conditions.
Right.
That's how difficult it is.
And with this gentleman playing in the video that I watched yesterday, because he was walking the course and they had the video more on him and then his shots and everything, I realized, like I said, I paid more attention to the course. I realized just how narrow some of these fairways were. There was times where just 5 feet off the fairway, you were in 3-inch rough. Yeah. It was incredible, but that's how they set it up.
That's even benign rough for U.S. Open.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the scores were the way they are, but it's tough. Tough is tough. I mean, you can say, okay, we're going to dial it back a little bit, but it's saying, okay, the train's not going to hit you at 100 miles an hour. It's going to hit you at 80 miles an hour. You know what? It still does its damage, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Now, I wanted to ask you, in props to the winner, Bryson DeChambeau, as we talked a little bit about it there on Monday. Boy, he went through a quick evolution in physicality during COVID-19 pandemic, coming back on the tour with this weight gained and this strength core, and now just blasting the ball off the tee. And all this work he put in, I think some of the announcers were talking about it there in Sunday's round, that if he holds it together and win like he did, destroying the field, as he was 6 under, the only one to finish under par. And he's the only one that day, I believe, that shot under par. And a lot has to do with his driving distance. He wasn't very accurate, but his up and down with his chipping was phenomenal. I was going to ask you, is this the next evolution for golfers in the physicality of the sport?
It's been building.
Yeah.
I mean, Woods was the first one that they really shined a spotlight on. Okay, let's see how tough we get. But
because when you saw his physicality next to Craig Stadler, you're like, oh, wow, night and day. John Daly, night and day.
Well, especially under the conditions they play in at a U.S. Open, it takes strength, endurance. It's tough to walk 72 holes and have to hit all those shots when you're hitting out a thick rough.
Yeah.
It takes something.
And the grind, mentally.
Grinding under on any course is tough. I don't play that much golf anymore because I got tired of grinding.
Yeah.
And it was just mentally exhausting. I mean, there's these golfers that have their pilot's license. I remember reporters would ask them, hey, won't you just fly? You have your own plane. Can you fly to your events? They say, no.
No way.
I'm grinding on the golf course. The last thing I want to do is grind in an airplane.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So, and I was going to say, after that kind of testament to the golf, the last thing you want to do is put yourself then in the situation of flying. It's just that much more intense.
You combine that mental grind, that aspect, with what they're demanding out of the players physically on these courses. When I say these courses, I mean U.S. Open courses.
Yeah.
The courses they play on during the year are set up for scoring.
Yeah.
And it's not as much of a test, but a test nonetheless. Yeah. Walking 72 holes plus a practice round, having to outdrive, Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
That's a task.
Yeah.
And it's a physical task. These guys that are out of shape, they don't, or I don't want to say out of shape, that aren't in peak elite physical condition as athletes. Because I don't think golfers need to be athletes in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
But if you are, it helps you. It used to be where people thought, well, you're pumping iron, you're getting your biceps up. That's not good for the golf swing. I think there's still some truth to that, but you combine that strength with flexibility and all that with the new techniques we have.
Exactly.
Now you get an elite athlete that's going to be really good at golf.
Because you see the body shape nowadays, the evolution of the golf and the players on tour now. You mentioned Dustin Johnson, long, tall, and lanky. Brooks Koepka, broad shoulders, but he's very tall. Even somebody smaller. When we look at Rory, he got a little bit bigger in the chest area, his biceps, but Rory's a little different because following him since he was young on tour, that guy's got a weird hip movement that is like a gift from God in itself. The way that guy's hips can move to swing a golf club is incredible. So he's always had core strength. But then you look at somebody like Ricky Fowler, who's a little bit smaller, but the way he's a little bit more lanky, he's not big, stocky and everything.
Yeah, and Fowler, he doesn't have the typical prototype golf swing.
Right.
And it used to be back in the day, you had 100 different PGA Tour players had 95 different types of swings.
Yeah.
They were all over the map.
Yeah.
Now it's very few different type swings. You see someone like Dustin Johnson certainly has this position at the top with his hands. It's very unorthodox. So I look at how does this guy play, but
I know.
They're relying on their athleticism to get them through a lot of it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, which is interesting. Now, I was going to take it to the idea that now that the Tour Championship finished its stuff up, which I'm not a big fan of the FedEx Cup. It's there. I understand the marketing aspect of it, and it's a way to drum up more viewership and get the players to play more unique events through the year that ties into the FedEx Cup. I get that. But now that that's over, the season kind of starts over. We had the U.S. Open because of everything COVID, and now we're talking about the Masters in November. What do you think? You think that's going to be pretty unique when it comes to the landscape we're used to in the spring, now playing in the fall?
Well, knowing Augusta National, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. That's my former boss at Golf Week.
Oh, is that right?
He must be listening.
He must be listening.
I used to work at Golf Week magazine, and he'd say, "Hey, you're talking golf, probably." So I thought I turned the ringer down. My apologies. So I think knowing Augusta National and everything they do, it's going to be November, and we're probably going to see the azaleas in bloom anyway.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they've got these things in greenhouses, and they've got climate control, and they're going to bring it, and they're going to probably make it look like I'm not joking. I'm serious. Yeah. They're going to try probably to make it look like that.
Probably, yeah.
And I remember they did a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago, they had their first women's event out there. It was college women.
Right.
And it was fascinating to watch another event taking place at Augusta National that wasn't the Masters. It was a little different. It didn't feel like the Masters, but it was neat to watch an event.
It was different.
This is going to be the Masters at Augusta National. It's going to feel different. Yeah. Almost like that. It's hard to put into words. I'll try. I can probably write it.
Yeah. There you go. See, I'm the opposite. I can talk it, but you asked me to write it. No way. I think it's going to be interesting. And what's interesting about it is the time of year. I mean, we're talking northern Georgia in November. Who knows what the weather could do? And then going back to what I thought was going to happen with the U.S. Open, the weather was absolutely phenomenal the entire week up there in New York. That's the nicest I've seen that weather that time of year for that stretch of days. Like, it just worked out great. I have a feeling that maybe if it was played in June, the weather might have been a little bit more less advantageous in certain days. But for this month of September, for them playing it, it was absolutely immaculate.
Yeah, they could have been cooking there. I mean, the biggest myth is that it doesn't get cold down here and that it doesn't get hot up there. Nonsense. They have heat waves up there that are just as bad as here, and they get them during the time when the U.S. Open will be played. So we'll see. But moving on a little bit, as we mentioned, the Tampa Bay Rays playing absolutely astounding baseball right now, and having won the division, which is great. We know, though, it's an abbreviated season. The way this has gone, I was going to say, as a baseball fan, are you more of one of the purists that is like, oh, this isn't a 162-game season, this doesn't count for me, I'm still going to watch it because it's batting a ball, or what? Yeah, I watch it because, to me, Major League Baseball is real baseball. Yeah. If it's not Major League Baseball, it's not real. I can watch college football and say that's real football, even though it's not the NFL and all that. To me, that's real football. Anything that's not Major League Baseball is just not. It's not the same. So,
I know what you mean.
In Major League, they can turn a double play, 4-6-3 double play like it's nothing. That's a hard thing to do. Yeah. They make it all look so easy, but I am traditionally a purist, but there's nothing we can do about it. So I hate to say it is what it is. I hate that cliche, but this is the hand. That's
Ocala's motto, by the way. Yeah. It should be printed on the thing. Welcome to Ocala. It is what it is.
So this is the hand we've been dealt, and everyone knew at the beginning this is a sprint. So structure your team, structure your race that way. Yeah, and I think Tampa Bay was built for that, and everyone said it even beforehand. I thought, well, let's see if this really pans out, and they did it. Kevin Cash has been a brilliant manager, and I really thought we would miss Madden. I do miss him. He was my favorite. And then when Cash came on, I thought, well, this guy, he was a catcher like Madden. He knows his stuff, and he's a local guy too. And I've been impressed with how he's able to manage the team with situations and evolve
and
how
it's
he's managed.
Younger group of guys too. So like that's what we always complimented Madden on, was being able to take young talent and put it to fruition, so to speak. This guy's
It's always
doing the same.
amazing with Madden. The pitchers were just great when they were with Tampa, and then they'd go elsewhere and they weren't as good. Or they were down. So it tells you something about the pitching coach. Of course, Kyle Snyder's now the pitching coach in Tampa.
Which, by the way, I want to emphasize that for Cleveland, it's the exact opposite. As they're decent with Cleveland, they go on to do great things elsewhere. As I'm an Indians fan.
You know what? That's what you get for being a Cleveland.
That's right. That's exactly what it is.
Dealt with Cleveland.
Yeah, Galen's laughing right now if he's listening. He's like, yeah, that's exactly right. Now, do you see maybe with the sprint now getting into this whole different realm of postseason? Do you see Tampa Bay holding on to it and staying strong?
I think they got to be one of the favorites because of how their pitching is. But a short series, anything can happen. I mean, they beat the Yankees 8 out of 10 games.
Yeah, they did.
Destroyed them. And my fear was that Tampa's going to be the number 1 seed and Yankees are going to be number 8, and they're going to have to play them. Yeah. In the law of averages, it says you're not going to keep up 8 out of 10 against the Yankees.
Right.
So they're going to lose in the first round of the Yankees. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like if they play the Yankees, it would be in the ALCS.
For the Champions League series.
Which I can stomach that. But when you get to the playoffs, anything can happen.
Do you agree with how they're trying to do this, trying to make their own Major League Baseball bubble?
No,
in a way?
I can't stand it. They played the whole year.
I know.
A certain way. Your playoffs should be the same way.
Yeah.
The only other sport that does something like that is the NFL, where they play the Super Bowl at a neutral site.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's a one-game event type of thing.
Right. That makes sense. But for these series,
you don't want someone to have an advantage, so you play it on the neutral site. In the AFC Championship, NFC Championship, you want some team that earned an advantage in that game, so they play it. In the Super Bowl, you don't necessarily want that. But in baseball, I think you need to play your playoffs the way you did the whole season. Yeah. And that was traveling. Now they're going to give them a whole new dynamic.
Yeah. And I guess now that's just, like we said, that's part of everything that's gone on with this COVID-19 stuff. So it's just something else. It is it is what it is, so to speak, with it. But yeah, I'm not sure. Because I was honestly thinking that maybe by this point it would just be, I'm not saying back to normal, but we would just have regular, this series for this many games is played for this team at this place at home, and then you could have some people in the stands by this point, considering we're having it with other sporting events.
Well, I remember when they started the season, I thought, well, they'll play 2 or 3 weeks with no fans, and then they'll decide, okay, we could put 10,000 people in here. Yeah. You know, if they put 10,000 people at a Rays game, that's a normal crowd.
Yeah, it is.
So they'll be right at home.
And for those who are wondering, that's a knock against Tampa. Now, when they're playing good baseball, it's not necessarily that the baseball team's bad. It's those who live in Tampa trying to get across the Bay Bridge in time after they leave work at 5 to get to a 7 o'clock pitch start.
It's
that's hard.
I guarantee you, if they were in downtown Tampa, they would have good crowds. I mean, they talk about, well, the Red Sox don't have any problem. Well, you know what? You put Fenway Park out in Martha's Vineyard. Okay, tell me how many people are showing up every day for a game.
Even Foxborough, I think if you were to put the Boston Red Sox, like say you were to make the facility like, hey, there's Gillette Stadium, there's the new-aged Fenway Park, it would not be as great of a turnout. You'd miss the ambience.
It's a social scene. It's a cultural thing at Fenway Park. That's mainly that's baseball in general in a lot of these places. Baseball is played every day. It's part of the culture. And it's not even so much about the sport. I mean, it is, but there's a much bigger dynamic involved.
Bigger dynamic. Well, as we mentioned, as we're kind of making our way to the top of the hour here, just to round out the show, last thing I was going to mention with the NFL, is there an NFL team that you look to, that you root for?
When I was a kid growing up, I worshipped Walter Payton. So I would almost get nauseous on Sunday mornings when the Bears were coming on. That's how my anticipation was.
That's awesome.
But as I've grown older, I'm not a 12-year-old kid anymore. I root for the home team, so I'll root for the Bucs. Yeah,
and with the Buccaneers, I'm a Saints fan. I'm consider myself a Saints fan first, Browns fan second, just because of the years of turmoil.
You got to join the home team. You're a Florida man.
That's what they say. Now, I was in the Pensacola area for half the time I was in Florida. So I've been in playing Florida 10 years now. So over there, it's the home team is the Saints.
Yeah.
Is there anything? But now they're in the same division, and we were just talking a little bit off there that you think Tom Brady can put it together full season? Definitely get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the playoffs?
No, but I give him as good a shot as I would have Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm hoping they can. I'm not counting on it, but it would be nice if they could run the table and the Rays can win the World Series and the Lightning can hold on to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
To have 3 teams from Tampa as champions when no one was able to watch.
Exactly. That's how that goes, right? That's the irony behind it.
We might as well be Cleveland.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth, my friend. That'll do it for AM Ocala Live this Friday, this week. And stay tuned because next week we're going to finish out this month of September. We're going to get ourselves to October with a lot more sports and good fun stuff to talk about, as well as dealing with all the stuff that we know we need to get through responsibly with society. And one more plug for Ocala Magazine right there, streaming to you live. Thanks for Ocala Magazine. Thanks to 12 Rounds Boxing, Beneficial Hearing. Thanks to Galen for coming in today. Life South Community Blood Centers. Get out there, give the gift of life, donate blood. And thanks to Tish, Joe, and Dan. And until next week, everybody, goodbye.